أهلا بكم في بودكاست شعلة الأمان. في عالم تتسارع فيه التقنية وتتصاعد فيه الحاجة للمراقبة الذكية والاستجابة السريعة، تأتي الطائرات بدون طيار كأداة ثورية تعيد تشكيل قواعد الأمان وتفتح آفاق جديدة في السلامة والتفتيش والدفاع. في هذه الحلقة من شعلة الأمان نستضيف شخصية قيادية في هذا المجال، سيمون هاريس، المدير التنفيذي لشركة كوبتريز البريطانية، الشركة المتخصصة في تقديم حلول درون متكاملة تشمل الطائرات الحساسة، التدريب والاستشارات لأكثر من 3000 جهة في المملكة المتحدة في مجالات مثل المسح، التفتيش، البناء، القطاع العام والدفاع. ضيفنا اليوم يثري وأثرى الحضور بورقة عمل تضمنت وجود أجهزة الدرون في الجهات الأمنية والجاهزيتها في العمل. أهلا بك مستر سيمون هاريس. وفي البداية يعني نحاورك عن التحول والبرمجيات في الدرونز.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, I started in software once I left university. So it was a passion of mine to go in and work with novel technologies. So technologies that were very much on the cutting edge of innovation. I left university and I went to work initially in anti-money laundering software. From there, I went into web filtering software. So actually looking at how web content is made, and then our software was scanning the content, context, and physical construction of a web page to ensure that the right people were able to see the right content. For example, you don't want a child to see content that is not age appropriate for that individual. So our software would determine what was on that web page in real time and dynamically to make sure that the children weren't able to access things that they shouldn't be able to access. So I was at that business for around 6 years. Throughout that time, our technology went from being a nice to have to a legal regulatory requirement. And so we had great success, naturally. From there, I left that organization after a management buyout and then a private equity investment and moved into data privacy. So looking at how we can secure people's data to ensure that there is no leakage. I did that for an organization that was based out of Bermuda. I spent a couple of years there before, again, we sold that business. So I've been working in the drone industry now for just under 4 years. And the technology is moving very, very quickly.
Yeah.
One of the best examples I can give in terms of how fast the technology is moving is we are not going from iPhone 15 to iPhone 16. We're going from iPhone 3 to iPhone 10 every time a new drone comes out. So the technology is moving very, very fast. And yes, as the technology adapts, so does people's awareness. What I do and what my company does is very much based around education. So it's educating people how that they can use drones to make their operations faster, safer, more efficient, and ultimately increase their bottom line as an organization.
كيف تغير الدرونز من معادلة الأمان في القطاعات المختلفة مستر سيمون؟
Yes, so I mean, one of the major use cases for drones is to remove humans from areas in which they are potentially at risk. So one of our most popular solutions that we sell is a caged solution, so a drone in a cage. That's used in scenarios where you don't want to send a human being. So let's say that you have a sewer pipe and you think there may be a crack in the sewer pipe. If you're to send a human, you're potentially putting that human and their life at risk. By sending a drone, you can go down and using LiDAR technology, you can map the interior of that sewer, understand where the cracks are through the LiDAR and through the visual inspection. And then when a human does go down to actually repair that sewer, they can go specifically to that particular area. Now, a sewer is one example of moving humans away from risk, but also there is working at height. Today, we're in a very, very tall building. If there was an issue with a leak in the building, for example, from the inside of the building, we don't know where that leak is. So how would we determine that? We would put scaffolding up. which would cost a lot of money. We would then send human beings up into a dangerous situation to actually analyze where that particular issue is. With a drone, we can take the drone, we can fly it onto the roof within minutes, not within the weeks it takes for scaffolding. We can very quickly see where that issue is. And then when we send a team up to go repair it, we're saying, hey guys, you go up and it's on the north corner of this building. So again, we're removing humans from doing things that are unnecessary and unnecessarily putting a human at risk. So they are two great examples, and that is very much the kind of the mantra of using drone technology. It's making humans' jobs safer while doing it more efficiently, while doing it more affordably.
جميل مستر سايمون، الأمثلة اللي أعطيتنا إياها، لكن الأمثلة من واقع العمل مثل يعني السلامة في التفتيش والبناء والاستجابة للطوارئ. لو تعطينا أكثر هذه الأمثلة.
Okay. Yeah, so if I start with the last one, which is emergency response. So emergency responders, the ability to use drones in emergency response can vastly decrease the time it takes to respond to an incident, alongside that cost element as well. So if I use an example that there is a pile-up on the motorway, a traffic accident, if the police or the emergency services had to mobilize an ambulance or a helicopter to go and view that, a helicopter would cost a significant amount of money, but it would also take a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
So it might take 15 to 20 minutes for a helicopter to get to that site. A drone can be set up and mobilized within 1 minute. So not only are you not paying for the fuel costs, but also you're doing it in a safer manner as well. So that's a great example for emergency response. But another example could be something like search and rescue. So by utilizing thermal cameras on drones, you can look even in low light or poor weather conditions like we have today. You can look very quickly at a search mission, and utilizing a thermal camera, you can pick out a heat signature a lot faster than the naked eye could. So Oman is quite a mountainous country. Let's say that somebody got lost. They were herding camels and they got away from the rest of the guys. If we were trying to use a search party with naked human eyes in low light, in poor conditions, it would be very hard to actually understand where that individual is. By utilizing a drone and utilizing a thermal camera, we'll be able to see through that low light, and we'll be able to say that, hey, this individual is halfway up this mountain.
Very good.
If I then move into construction, so construction, and there's a wide variety of use cases for drones in construction, but I would say one of the most common ones is for the actual surveying of a site. So again, if you want to survey a site or look at site progress, what you have to do is take physical pictures of that site every single day. You can imagine that is very time consuming. Now, utilizing drones, you can do that remotely. So you can have a drone in a box on a site, and every day that you need to do this 15, 20 minute mission, you simply fly that drone remotely. Now, you might have 10 or 15 building sites and projects going on at the same time. And instead of it taking 1 man or 5 men, an hour per every one of those sites, Andy's got to travel to that site. Using drone technology, you can use autonomous drone in a box to do the entire 15 sites within 2 or 3 hours.
Very good.
So huge applications. The first one you asked me about was about inspection. Now, inspection and the inspection of assets is very important to ensure that we are aware of the degradation of assets, i.e., how quickly is the asset depreciating? When do we need to, when do we need to repair the asset? When do we need to send a repair team out? If you look at something like offshore wind turbines, we have a lot of those in the UK. They are extremely expensive just to turn them off. So if you need to go and inspect a wind turbine, I think it costs around £30,000 every hour that it's off. Now, if you want to do an inspection, you probably spend 3, 4, 5 hours with that asset off. And in that case, you're losing nearly £150,000 to £200,000 of time, plus the cost of the inspection, plus you're putting a human at height and therefore at risk. We have cameras now that are such high resolution and with such fast shutter speeds that when attached to a drone, they can take pictures and inspect the asset without the asset ever turning off. Now, you might pay £50,000 for a camera, but if you're saving £150,000 for every single wind turbine, you very, very quickly show a return on investment. And there is significantly more use cases than that across different industries. So, while I've touched on emergency response, construction, surveying, and inspection, there is a continually evolving and ever increasing opportunity to utilize drones and to implement them into different workflows.
يعني جميل مستر سايمون، لكن لكل يعني تقنية أو لكل استخدام تحديات. ما هي التحديات التنظيمية والقانونية لاستخدام الدرونز في القطاع العام؟
So if we're talking about the regulation of drones, it's naturally very important because a drone is a flying machine. It is a flying camera. It's a flying method of collecting data. And when anything flies, there is a risk. I would not want to be on an aeroplane that hasn't been through the necessary regulatory and compliance checks. And it's exactly the same for drone technology. We don't want to be walking outside and a drone hits us because the pilot is unaware of the necessary changes and compliance regulations. So this is something that is continually evolving. Over the past 4 or 5 years, the reliability of drones has got significantly better. And therefore, it's making it easier for the authorities. The Civil Aviation Authority in the UK and EASA, and taking the EASA principles across Europe, are helping increase the potential for commercial operation applications. And that's because, in essence, the technology is getting stronger. The rules and regulations are getting more defined, and therefore it's opening up further commercial opportunities. In Oman, there is still quite a long way to go. At this point in time, you haven't had the necessary, rigor that goes into the regulations to understand the benefits and then do the analysis of, how do we bring in regulations that protect individuals, because it's all about protection, ensure operator safety, but moreover, ensure safety to the general public. So I would envisage that, that is something that Oman will do as they go through a process to work with maybe the UK CAA or the Civil Aviation Authority of Europe to take a view of more mature regulations and then see how they can be kind of combined into what will be specific for Oman as well.
Okay, that's good. Mr. يعني سايمون ما شاء الله معلومات ثرية جدا، ولكن ما هو دور التدريب يعني والاستشارات في رفع هذه الجاهزية، جاهزية الجهات المستفيدة من خدمات الدرونز؟
So, training is ultimately extremely important for using drones. To answer the last question I said, about the aeroplane, you wouldn't want to get on an aeroplane with a pilot who's not trained how to fly the aeroplane, right?
Good.
And that's the same principle goes for drone technology. So, one of the things that we've done very well as an organization is by learning and by training people and training, thousands of commercial organizations. So we've trained over 3,000 specific organizations in the UK, but over 12,000 pilots. So that includes the majority of both police and military. But it is super important that organizations see the training programs and they take people through these steps, because ultimately it is a flying machine. There is a potential risk if the operator doesn't have the right knowledge, the right skills. So one of the things that we do is we try and de-risk the purchase for an end user or for the implementation into an organization. And we do that by going through quite a rigorous and strenuous training course to make sure that by the time that the individual has completed that training, they are a proficient operator of the technology, but not also the technology, but then on top of that, then the way to collect the data, the way to process the data. Because again, I mentioned earlier, a drone is just a method of collecting data. If you are adept at flying the drone, but you don't know how to extract the data, then you won't get any value out of the technology. And that's where, organizations like ourselves come in, because we actually show and create the ROI for an organization or whoever it may be.
مستر سايمون، يعني احنا نتكلم عن الدرونز كمستقبل في الأمن والسلامة. يعني من خبرتك، إلى أين هذا المستقبل؟ إلى أين ممكن أن نستخدم تقنية الدرونز هذه الطائرات في الأمن والسلامة؟
So if I focus on Aman in particular, I think Aman and part of my role here has been around the education piece. It's around ensuring that individuals are aware of just how to use drones and ultimately how to make their operations safer, make them faster, make them more productive. The next step from there is probably a look at the regulations. It's to understand whether regulations are helping the country and whether regulations are hindering the country. And what changes need to be made to be as proactive as possible to ensure that the regulations are supporting the benefits and the use of the technology. Once those regulations are, I suppose, analysed and realigned, the next step and probably the biggest use case in Oman is around perimeter security. It's around security for the country, national security. We would put autonomous drone solutions maybe every 10 kilometers down the borders of the country. And the cost saving that you would see from that compared to manned borders, while providing a better level of coverage, is almost instantaneous. One of the major benefits of drone technology, and one of the things that I referenced in my speech earlier on, is that drones take out subjectivity from decision making. And the example I will give is, let's say that your husband is a border control guard, and this morning you and him have a disagreement, and therefore he is maybe not thinking as well as he should do when he's sat there doing his job. And humans can be subjectively distracted by things going on in their lives. He might miss a breach coming through. He might miss a risk to national security because of the mental and the subjective element of a human brain. A drone is ultimately a computer. It's objective, and it'll make an objective decision, and therefore it minimizes the potential for human risk. And really, that's what I see as one of the really big opportunities for Oman in onboarding this technology, learning more about this technology, and leaning into countries and organizations that already have the skill and pedigree of implementing this across a wide variety of use cases.
يعني حوار جدا عميق وجدا شيق على مستقبل الدرونز في الأمن والسلامة، ولكن وقتنا ضيق في بودكاست شعلة الأمان. أنا حابة إني أشكر مستر سيمون هاريس المدير التنفيذي لشركة كوبتريز. شكرا كثير لوجودك معنا. Thank you. شكرا لهذا الفكر، وشكرا لما قدمته اليوم في محاضرتك عن مستقبل الدرونز واستخدامها في الجهات الأمنية. ما زلنا نستمر مع بودكاست شعلة الأمان والتغطية الحصرية مع كل المحاضرين اللي أتونا من خارج السلطنة لتبادل الخبرات وتقديم أوراق عمل مثرية. شكرا لكم.